Such a good episode. Much better than last week's. You know, I enjoy the girl group challenges. And, oh, hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of Canada's Drag Race Season 1, Episode 3. And before we get started, I just want to send out a couple of shout-outs to my tipperdoos. First of all, Charlie Green from Baltimore. Cooey, darling, how are you, my lover? I'm so sorry. Somehow or another, I think what happened was your tip last week missed broadcast, and then I got 2 this week. So 2 thank yous to you, Charlie. 1 and 2. Now, I love Charlie Green because we message on the Instas and the tubes and all of that. But he always says it's Charlie Green from Baltimore, and it always makes me laugh because Baltimore, the home of Divine John Waters. Oh my God, Charlie. You're at the top of the world, kid. That's all I'm saying. So thanks for your tips. Of course, we also want to thank Michael Watkins. God bless you for tipping. And Denise Cherneau. Now, Denise, you all know from my Wilma drawings. Now, Denise has done a bunch of them. Now, you're familiar with the Canadian Martini Glass one. And there was another couple, but this is why I'm not clear on it. Denise just sent me like 7 drawings, and they're all gorgeous, and they're all as Wilma as burly Q dancers, a little burlesque, a little hello, a little woohoo, and they're gorgeous. They're just so stunning. So what I want to do with them is I want to make them available to buy. But I was talking to Denise because she didn't want any money from me, and I was just so flattered to get them. So what I'm going to be doing is making them available to buy on Redbubble, but what I'll be doing is taking the revenue that I get from Redbubble for those, and I'm going to be putting it to a charity. So I'll get back to you, and I will be showcasing. I mean, this is a little tease of Denise's work. It's so gorgeous, but I haven't even talked to Denise yet about it. Surprise, Denise! Hey, so there you go. So back to my tipperdoos. Kimmy's Closet, that's Kimmy with a K and Closet with a K. Thank you, my darling. I haven't heard from you in a while, and I hope you're doing all right. And of course, Rex Dieter. I hope you're from Germany. Rex Dieter, yeah. Sexy. I've always wanted to go to Berlin. I don't know why. Nothing in my trajectory has ever said, oh, Berlin is where you need to be. But I sense it in my soul. All right. So, that said, I also would like to introduce you to our latest Redbubble model. This is Joey from Montreal. Joey is a very good friend of Siatha Knight, who I had on the show here, and I was on her show, on her channel. Joey, in fact, the reason I know Siatha is through Joey. Joey started a RuPaul review a few years ago, reached out to me. I watched them. They were huge. It was him, his boyfriend, and Siatha, and they were just adorable, the 3 of them. And since then, I think Siatha's now doing them on her own with a co-host, all in French. Joey, very busy and famous, clearly, but he got the Jorge Drink Me face mask, which I have right here. I love it. This is my favorite. You know, the thing I love about wearing this out and about is that because it's a cartoon, especially clerks at stores, like they, oh, and the nice thing is when you're wearing a mask, like I'm going around, I'm smiling at everyone, but no one can tell. Do you know what I mean? And I'm a big white dude when I'm not all gorgeous and feminine, and it can be a little off-putting. So having a cartoon right there on your face warms a lot of hearts and makes people think that maybe possibly there is a smile under that mask. And of course, that's available on Redbubble. Thank you, Joey, for getting one, and keep me posted if you get anything else. I'm just saying. All right, so let's get to it. Well, we can't do anything without a cocktail. So Jorge, drink me. What is this? It's not a cocktail, it's tea. Oh, it's whiskey. Well, thank you, Jorge. Jorge thought I would look unladylike if I was just slugging back shots. Of course, that's okay on RuPaul night when you and I were watching the show. But for the taping, all right. So what kind of whiskey do we have here? Ooh, this is Writer's Tears. This is Irish whiskey. Now, I'm just going to have a little drinky poo moment with y'all before we get started. Whiskey's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's like drinking a campfire. If it's Scottish whiskey, a Scottish whiskey tends to be peaty. It tends to have that smoky, ashtray quality that is sought after by aficionados the world over. I am not that person. If I want to lick a campfire, I'll go camping. So I like Irish whiskey because Irish whiskey isn't peaty. Also, Canadian whiskey isn't as smoky or peaty. You can certainly get them. You can certainly get Irish whiskeys that are smoky. But I bought Writer's Tears a few years ago because of the name Writer's Tears. I mean, how Irish? Oh, I'm drinking the tears of a writer, you know. It's just poetic and visual and appropriate for writers the world over, especially... Well, no, I think still now they drink. But anyway, that said, I just thought it was interesting. It was, I think there was a promotion that came with some shot glasses or something. Anyway, I loved it. I won't mix this. This Writer's Tears is sipping whiskey. You want to mix something, you get some Crown Royal. Crown Royal will mix in anything. Is it Jack Daniels? Another one. But for a nice, lovely bit of tea, Writer's Tears will get you there, I'll tell you what. Whiskey-y. So, we started this episode off by saying bye to Kyne, and although she has a huge online presence, the queens were very surprised to see her go this early, and it was a vivid reminder to them all that any of them could go at any minute. Seriously. After everyone congratulated Lemon on her win, Tainomi shared with the group what it was like to be in the bottom. And she said that it lit a fire under her ass. And I just need to say, I hate it when anybody, queens on Drag Race, anybody on a reality show where there's a challenge and they fail and they're like, I almost got kicked off. This lit a fire under. Oh my God, this is a contest show. You should walk into the process on fire. There should be no moment where you are not giving your 100 for whatever reason. And to not do it, I think, is just asking yourself to be sent home. Seriously, bring a match. The next day in the workroom, the girls felt it was still too early to call a frontrunner. Even Kiara said she couldn't tell who was going to be the next to go home. And quick as a flash, Lemon said, oh, then it's you. This is why I like Lemon. She's not a gracious winner. Thank God JBC showed up with this week's mini challenge. What was too bad about it, though, was the pants he was wearing. What the hell was that? Did he lose a bet? I don't know. I mean, fabric aside, because they were fabulous, why was he wearing them up so high? They looked like something that Sheldon Cooper would wear to ride the bus. It looked like something somebody wears to go shopping at Walmart at 2 in the morning because, well, it's Walmart at 2 in the morning. I suspect that the cameraman had the same reaction to the pants that I did because, thankfully, for the rest of the day, he seemed to give Jeffrey a tight shot. Hell, I'd like to give him a tight, well, anything, but that ship has sailed. And Jeffrey wasn't alone. He brought squirrel friend and senior correspondent of CTV's E-Talk, Tracy Melkor, who was the perfect person to help introduce this week's mini challenge, Canada Gay M. The queens had to pair up, get into quick drag, and then read a teleprompter that was showing them French, English, and Draglish, Canada's official third language, because we don't have enough problems with 2 official languages. Rita and Kiara teamed up, much to the chagrin of the English-speaking queens, so the prospect of speaking French out loud was the least of their concerns. Of course, the same could not be said about Rita's bus driver wig. Seriously. All in all, this was a hard challenge for me to watch. There were so many train wrecks. I mean, the only good thing about that is that I'm sure it must have made picking the best one easier, you know, through a process of elimination. Scarlett and Ilona were fairly mediocre, but at least they had some energy, unlike Starzy and Tainomi, who were so boring I thought they were doing Sunday morning television. Rita and Kiara did okay, but because things went smoothly, aka speak in French, they were a little boring. A team that wasn't boring was Boa and Jimbo. First of all, Jimbo killed me. His choice to be Nancy Grace in the mini challenge not only was funny out of the gate, but his commitment to the character, he didn't drop it at all. He didn't drop it until the judges left the building. It just made me laugh so hard. And one of the character traits, apparently, that Ms. Grace had was not letting Boa get a word in edgewise. Hilarious! And I wish that Jimbo had stuck to that, or should I say Nancy Grace, because when she did let Boa speak, it wasn't worth listening to. Just saying. So the winning team was Lemon and Priyanka, and not only did they win some fabulous drag jewels from Amped Accessories, they also became the team leaders for the Maxi Challenge, which was two rival girl groups having a rap battle to the song Not Sorry, Boot It. I said boot. Lemon chose Tainomi, Jimbo, Kiara, and Boa, while Priyanka picked Rita, Scarlett, and Anastasia, which left Ilona last again. By default, she was on Team Priyanka, but still, last twice in a row. Seriously. The first thing the teams did was give the song a listen to, and with the tune in their head as inspiration, they picked team names. Well, that's what they did on Lemon's team, the Duels. Over on Team Priyanka, the first thing those queens did was help Ilona get over her issues of being picked last all the time. But because, well, all the queens have been picked last once or twice in the history of them, they didn't get Ilona a lot of time to get over it. I'm just saying. And how could they? They had to pick a team name. I'm super glad they didn't go with Priyanka's first choice, Priyanka and the Dolls. But when they picked the Moose Knuckles, I had regrets. Sadly, Starzy and Rita just had questions. Apparently, there aren't a lot of moose running around the wilds of East York. For Starzy, she had never heard this term in her life. And as for Rita, I'm sure there is a French equivalent for moose knuckle, but I'm sure it translates into English into something like the Pope's vestibule. So we'll never know. Personally, I think they were inspired by JBC's bus pants. So, as both teams familiarized each other with their performing credits, Jimbo shocked me again by singing beautifully. Who would have thought that? Thank God Bus Pants showed up to check on the Queen's progress. His first stop was with the Duels, where he learned that Lemon is a straight-up raptress. Is that even a word? What I thought was cute, besides Jimbo making puppy eyes at Jeffrey, was how Jeffrey shaded Lemon's rap cred by throwing a couple of more mainstream names at her, like Iggy Azalea and Eminem. Oh no. That's not who Lemon listens to. I didn't recognize the names that she did say, but they seemed to impress the heck out of JBC. And because I'm old, I just assume that they are good. Hey, if it ain't Alison Moyet, I don't listen to it. Over on Team Moose Knuckle, geez, that's not even a name I'd want in high school. I'm so serious. But JBC seemed to have no problems with it again. I think it was because of his bus pants. A point Priyanka alluded to before she explained how she picked her teammates. She said she wanted characters like the Spice Girls. Guess that's why Ilona was last. Before leaving, JBC let the queens know that this week's guest host was the legendary Deborah Cox, a singer every Canadian drag queen is more than familiar with. In fact, Scarlett Bobo feels she may, in fact, owe her some royalties. She's performed her numbers so many times. But nobody in the room knows Deborah Cox better than Tainomi Banks. Mostly because she's danced backup for her on more than a couple of occasions. I'm so serious. I told you Tainomi was a big deal. Up next, the Queen had their recording session with Ralph. And if you don't know who she is, check her out. Her song, Weather, is fabulous. Seriously. Anyway, the Duels were up first. And thank God Ralph was there, because more than a couple of them needed some direction. I'm so serious. Like Tainomi Banks. I mean, she was her usual self, shy and understated, but with a few suggestions from Ralph, she actually wasn't bad. It sounded like shade. Boa surprisingly needed a lot of guidance too, more personality, better diction. Remember, it's still a song. This was a lot for our Boa to process. No wonder she felt like she was on heroin, which also may explain why she thought she was doing so well. Jimbo did well until she started ad-libbing, and then she had her whole team in stitches. Fingerdoo's crossed that Jimbo keeps the ad-libs. Seriously. The Moose Knuckles were up next, and for the most part, they did fairly well. It seems like Priyanka did pick a good, broad spectrum of personalities, as long as one of those personalities was boring. Sweet Marie and the Ships at Sea. Poor Anastasia. You know, I'm not surprised she had trouble with this challenge, because she's demure, she's a lady. There's a reason that she and Tainomi get along well. And like Tainomi, Starzy needs to be goosed out of her comfort zone every once in a while. Somebody on the Moose Knuckles who did goose me out of my comfort zone was Rita Baga. Who knew she could sing so well? Well, apparently she did. Then it was on to choreography with Hollywood Jade and Irvin. The dolls were first, and of course, Lemon killed it, as well she should after all that Alvin Ailey scholarship talk, if you ask me. In fact, the only queen who seemed to be having trouble on the dolls was Jimbo, poor thing. Personally, I think she was still channeling Nancy Grace. The Moose Knuckles bounced onto the stage next, and that's really the only thing they did as a team. If the dolls were worried, well, they shouldn't be, because everyone on the Moose Knuckles struggled. And as we know, the Moose Knuckles struggle is real. And then it was Elimination Day. As the queens got ready, Boa seemed stressed about some supposed Scarlet Bobo drama, which I felt kind of came out of left field until they showed us the unseen footage of Scarlet Bobo pulling an Aja, complaining about the judges loving Boa no matter how rough she was. I mean, seriously, she was one. I can't live in a world where Boa beats me away from being kind. Seriously. I have to admit, I was pretty disappointed to hear Scarlet Bobo go on and on about her lame reasons as to why Boa's pissing her off, especially when all the queens can tell she's just frustrated. But I do have to defend her choice not to talk to Boa before the runway. I mean, she had to put her face on. She has to focus. Some people are good confronting things before a show. Others are not. Either way, it's a good enough reason to delay the talk. But the best conversation this week was Priyanka sharing with the room that not only doesn't her father know she's gay, he doesn't know she's a drag queen. I'm so serious. And as sad as that was to hear, you know, it's not that uncommon. In fact, we've had race drag queens admit the same thing. And I remember Bob, the drag queen, saying when Kim Chi told us about her mother that you're robbing somebody of getting to know and experience the true you when you're not yourself. And it just always breaks my heart, just that little bit. I mean, we can't make people come out. We can't force them to. The only thing we can do is to be there and support them when they do. Seriously. And then it was time for the runway with this week's guest host, Canada's Queen of R&B, Deborah Cox, who apparently is another person in the world who doesn't age. Seriously. Up first, not sorry about it, the all-queen rap battle. And you know what? This didn't suck. Everyone delivered on their solos for the most part, and I thought it went very well until the group work. And then you could see that choreography and lyrics had left a couple of those queens flapping in the breeze. I'm not just talking about the Moose Knuckles. And then it was on to the runway. Category is Becky with the good hair. Up first, Kiara, who was golden in a larger-than-life afro puff. But unfortunately, I felt that it made her look more like the lion from The Wiz than a Becky. Just saying. Jimbo was next, looking like a cross between the band, Twisted Sister, and a sex sling. And who doesn't love Twisted Sister? Especially in a sling. All I can say about Tainomi Banks' runway is that if I had been there, I would have slapped her face. What do you got for the runway, Ty? This? Seriously. I know she said that she wanted people to feel like they were on acid when they saw her coming down the runway, but it looked like she took acid to make that outfit. It wasn't finished. I mean, it was a dress of hair and it needed combing. A little product on the ends would have helped. But even all of that, I mean, it was an ugly dress. It hit her shape. And then the hat looked like somebody left a cake out in the rain. And you know how I hate to waste cake. Boa was next in her what becomes a semi-legend the most look. She was gorgeous. Her face was beaten. And she removed her coat to show the world that her rainforest hadn't been clear-cut. Seriously. I love this look. It was disturbing on so many levels. The mankini, the bush, the fact that the nude bodysuit she was wearing was painted to look like a male body with body hair. I loved it. This look was everything, and clearly another reason for Scarlet Bobo to hate Boa. Lemon's ode to Groot was charming. I love that she made herself up to look like a little lemon tree, but unfortunately, it made her look less about hair and more about horticulture. And you know what they say about leading horticulture. Priyanka was as cute as buttons, and I really loved her look, but I felt that the buns and the braids minimized the impact of her good hair. Maybe it had been bad hair, and she's teaching it a lesson. Starzy not only had good hair, she had the biggest, and she did 2 looks. But I have to admit, I preferred her second look over Cousin It, mostly because Cousin It isn't known for having good hair, just lots of it. As much as I liked Rita Baga's look, I felt that it wasn't about hair. Although that was a gorgeous wig, it looked more like she was dressing for a rainstorm or something. I mean, a better category for this runway for Rita would have been golden showers. Just saying. Scarlet Bobo's runway was uniquely her own because her name was all over it. Well, it was all over the wig anyway. Which left Ilona Verily last again. But that poodle outfit was stunning, so it was worth the wait. Then it was time for the judges' critiques. Lemon, Rita, and Jimbo were safe, so they freaked off to the Untucked Lounge. Up first was Kiara, and for the most parts, the judges were underwhelmed by her. They felt she disappeared in the performance, and they thought that her runway look was fairly basic. Clearly 2 things that were very hard for Kiara to hear. Bless. Tainomi was next, and although JBC said that he had been watching her because she was a dancer, he also noticed that she was forgetting the lyrics, which she wrote a lot. Something I'm sure that was very hard for Tainomi to hear in front of his former boss, Deborah Cox. And the worst thing was it hadn't even gotten to her wardrobe yet. Or should I say Yeti? Boa was next, and the judges couldn't love her enough. Brooklyn Heights called her and her look stupid, but in the best way possible. Stacey McKenzie said she was beautiful, among other fabulous things, and JBC admitted he couldn't take his eyes off her during the performance. All of this to Bobo's chagrin. Priyanka was next, and she was clearly another favorite of the judges. They loved her look, they loved her performance. Hell, even Deborah Cox called her the MVP of the week. Sounds like a win to me. Poor Starzy. For the most part, the judges were unimpressed by her performance as well. And as far as her 2 looks on the runway, they felt they were disconnected. Brooklyn made a good point. She thought it would have been better if she had turned around as Cousin It and been Morticia Addams with a floor-length head of hair. That would have been a good look, eh? Much to Scarlet Bobo's delight, the judges loved her performance too. They also loved her runway and thought that the hairdress showed her shape, and they loved the whimsy of her wig. They loved all of it. Now maybe Scarlet will get off Boa's back. Last but not least, Ilona, who wasn't stupid about picking that lavender poodle outfit for her runway because the judges liked it way more than her performance. I'm just saying. Then it was time for all the queens to untuck, where it became clear that Anastasia was worried that she was going to be landing in the bottom 2. A worry that also plagued Kiara. But nobody took the news of a bad critique harder than Tainomi Banks. I'm so serious. Were the judges harder on her because of her reputation? Well, short of Brooklyn Heights, I'll bet none of these judges had even heard of Tainomi Banks before this. Never mind the fact that she's already a legend. I mean, it's not like she's done anything to prove it to anyone so far. Tell me I'm lying. But before the queens could debate the issue anymore, it was time to return to the runway, where it was announced that this week's winner was Priyanka. Here's to Priyanka. Some whiskey tea for you, dear. Well done, and shock of shocks, bringing up the rear, the two bottom queens, the season's heavy hitters, Anastasia Anakwe and Tainomi Banks. To say that Starzy was worried is an understatement. All in all, this was an unimpressive lip sync, especially for a Deborah Cox song. On one hand, it seemed like Starzy had just given up and wasn't trying at all. But on the other hand, I couldn't tell if Tainomi was possibly trying to give her a chance. Either way, it didn't seem like either of them were fighting for it. At least Tainomi did the splits, but even then, they were slow and unimpressive. I needed a cooter slam. But somebody had to be the winner, so the judges picked Tainomi. And I'm glad they did, because I hope that this finally lights that fire under her ass she said has been burning. Liar! As for Starzy, I'm sorry to see my East York sister go home so early, but this week seemed to get the better of her, and it seemed to take the fight with her. I have to say, though, I was intrigued that she didn't leave a lipstick message on the mirror on her way out. I wonder how the other girls will take it. Well, all we can do is tune into Canada's Drag Race next week to see how it all plays out. And when you're done, you come on back and you see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, please don't forget to like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Yay, I reached 5,000 plus subscribers, and thank you all for helping me do that. Now it's on to 6. I know I'm never satisfied. Also, don't forget, if you want to support the channel and me, you can leave me a tip on PayPal, you can support me on Patreon, or you can buy some lovely merchandise on Redbubble. I guess that's it for this week. So, until next week, miss me! Mwah! Seriously, Jorge, I kind of like drinking whiskey out of the teacup. Makes me feel classy. Yummy!